us here on the farm, the new year is all about moving forward. And while we're still here on our small little cottage on just 2.5 acres in the middle of Washington State, we're not staying stagnant. It's in that vein that I'm really excited to share with you that Babbel has sponsored today's video. This is the #1 language app in the entire world with over 10 million subscribers worldwide, and I am one of them. Because Babbel is not like any other learning method that I've tried. It uses native speakers and not computers to figure out how to teach you a language best. This next year, Stu and I have a work trip planned to the Piedmont region of Italy. We are going to be eating and exploring and traveling and engaging in conversations. And this is exactly why I am diving in to learning Italian, even if so far all I've gotten is ciao. It's progress, right? It's a step forward, and that's all we can hope for.
Right now, Babbel is giving Elliott Homestead viewers up to 50% off
of a Babbel subscription, and this is a limited time offer to learn a new language. So click the link in the description below and join me in stepping forward and learning a new language. Welcome to the new and improved greenhouse. And no, it's not done, because what really is ever done, ever, completely? But it's vastly improved by this amazing new floor. So if you remember back, this greenhouse was just dirt, and we tried to put some beds in here thinking that we would grow, and that just didn't really work, and we really didn't need that space in that way. So what was left was just residual dirt, and it made everything in here quite dirty. So it was always on the plan, after we decided not to grow actually inside the greenhouse, really we should call it a potting shed, because that's how we use it now. So this nice brick floor, we just got these brick pavers at Lowe's. They were about 50 cents a piece. So it was a really economical way for us to put a solid floor in here, which just makes it so much cleaner and so much easier to clean up, because as you can see, I've already made a proper mess of it. There's dirt everywhere in here all the time, but this way I can just hose it off and keep it, you know, semi-organized for the potting season. So I figured while we were out here checking out the new floor, we could clean up a little bit and check on those seedlings that we planted together last week. We have yet to build shelving into the greenhouse now that we've sort of rearranged things a little bit. So in the meanwhile, I'm just using this plastic table that we've used for 1,000 things over the years. So things are a little bit messy. I've got my little chick starter here thing for when some new chicks arrive in a couple of weeks. But let's look at the seeds. So if you remember from the video we posted last week, I'll put a tag for it below in the video, we're using Charles' Dowding method of kind of intensely planting seeds and then plucking out the strongest ones and then transplanting those into a cell tray. And so that's what all these little Tupperware you see here are. So if you can look at this one, for example, check it out. Look how many little baby broccoli plants are in this, and they're looking very strong and very healthy. So at this point, I actually could pluck out the strongest ones and transplant them into a tray, but I don't think these are quite done germinating yet, so I'm gonna leave them for a little bit longer. It's kind of fun to do these side by side because you can sort of see what seedlings are really quick to germinate and which ones take a little bit more time. So, for example, these are 2 different varieties of cauliflower. One of them is obviously quite zealous to grow, and one of them is a little bit slower. I can see them all coming, they're just not here yet. So it's kind of fun to be able to experiment with seedlings, and you see the different ways that different varieties will grow. Let's peek underneath these to see what's going on under here. I see some things happening under here. I actually haven't checked these in a few days. So these plastic covers, they're really nice to reuse. You can tell mine aren't in perfect shape, but the idea is just to hold most of the moisture in. And so that's what I'm using them for, even though they don't sit on there perfectly. All right, look at this. Check this out. Let's see if I can put this here without caving it in. All right, so over here we have kale, a few different varieties, which you can see I didn't label because I didn't think it too important. But these were all Charles calls multi-sown. I had many of you be like, I know what he calls it. I called it cluster planting, but multi-sow, same kind of thing, where we're planting a bunch of seeds into one cell and then planting that as a clump. So we've got our arugula here and our kale. Fava beans still have, you know, I can see them kind of trying there, but those still have a little ways to go. Now I have a guess as to what this is, but I can't quite see the tag. Yes. So the only thing to have germinated in this tray thus far is the radish. Radish is so eager to grow. I mean, you're talking like 30, 40 days from planting to harvest. So I've actually done a second sowing of radishes already. So these ones will be ready to harvest, and then about 10 days later, we'll have another batch ready to harvest. And the parsley and the coriander still have not germinated. They take quite a bit of time. This looks great too. So here we have our spinaches, and you can just see them beginning to come up through the soil. This is actually an entire tray of spinach. So it's not fully germinated yet, you can see, because there's still a bunch of empty cells. But spinach is one of those things, in my opinion, you just can't quite have enough of. So that's already had a second sowing made of it as well. This is actually a tray I didn't share with you guys because I just planted it a couple of days ago. But this is an entire tray of a bunch of things that can be planted right now. And these are all heirloom varieties. So I've decided to grow a seed garden this year. We have a small garden that's outside of our kitchen window. And normally we just call it the kitchen garden, and we plant a little of this and a little of that, whatever's left over from the big garden. But this year I've decided to use this garden space completely for seed saving. So these are all heirloom varieties that we will grow about 5 or 6 of each thing. So 5 beets, 5 carrots, 5 leeks, and then we will purposefully grow those with the idea of saving the seed for next year. There's still a lot of seed out there, but you guys know there's been a lot of restrictions and limits and just iffy shipping. And so I figure what better way to make sure we have seeds for the garden next year than to grow it ourselves. So we have radishes, turnips, spinach, cabbages, beets, kale, a bunch of different types of onions, mustard greens, some peas, some kale, and I think that's it for now. So quite a few things to plant still. This will be a really fun garden and a really kind of fun experiment. All those onions, all those storage onions that we planted together last week, those have not germinated yet. Those just take a long time. So we kind of just have to be patient. I could have just kept them inside until they germinated, but we don't really have a great spot for them inside. And so once things kind of started to sprout in some of the trays, I just brought them out here, and they can just be out here in the cold frame without any heat, and they'll be fine. All right, Juge, I think we need to water these. You ready to help me? This is a tray of beets that we planted together, and this has 3 different kinds of beet in it, and they are coming up beautifully, which is fabulous. All of my cell trays I keep in a water tray, so it's actually a 2-part system, as you can see. So this one holds any excess water or drips and kind of helps to keep dirt from coming out the bottom. You don't have to use them, but because we're so hot and so dry here, I am always really careful that my seedlings don't dry out. So you also, let me start that again. You want to be careful though that you don't keep your water, not your water. You do want to be careful that you don't keep your seedlings too wet, because they will rot if the soil is too wet. So I'm just going to give all of these just a quick once over. I can tell the soil is actually, it's fairly moist, it's pretty saturated, so this will just kind of be a maintenance watering amount. All right, ready? All right, that's good. Next, spinach.